morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your time zones. Welcome and thanks for coming to this talk on fasting UpaVasa. So we are actually here to practically apply the concept of Ekadashi UpaVasa. I spoke about the importance of Ekadashi UpaVasa about a couple of months ago. And my idea to do this is to reap the benefits from that. So, just having a theory knowledge is good, but practically applying that knowledge is all the more better. So in today's presentation, I'll talk about the importance of fasting, especially Ekadashi fasting, and then the concept of UpaVasa, and then we'll practically apply it this month, okay? Even though we just finished one Ekadashi, but we are going to have another one coming up very soon. So we'll do it this month. We'll apply the concepts again in the month of November, December, and thereafter. Now, even though we missed it last week, we will start, another couple of weeks from now. And it's very timely because Navratri is here. Today is the first day of Navratri. And we'll also soon enter into the new year as well. So it's like having an early start to a new resolution, to a new year resolution of keeping good health and experiencing optimal wellness. So with that background, let me go ahead and start my slides. So I hope you can all see my slides. All right, so before I start, let me make it very clear to everyone. This actually is not a religious or some kind of a fad fasting process, all right? This is a fasting paradigm solely for our own good health, for our immunity, and for our wellness. Okay, not just at the physical level, but also at the level of the mind and at the level of emotions. Okay, so this is going to be much more than a religious fast. Now, when we talk about the term UpaVasa, all right, some people call it UpaVasa, some people call it UpaVasa. The minute we talk about this word, we think about it as a restricted fasting. Okay, and that's what we mean in every Indian language. When we talk about the term UpaVasa, it means restricted eating. But restricted eating or fasting is just one component of UpaVasa. Because if you look at the Vedic scriptures, UpaVasa was not limited to just fasting or restricted eating. UpaVasa meant certain rules, certain methodologies, certain lifestyles. So if you break the term UpaVasa, Upa means nearby, vicinity, proximity, close to. And the term Vasa would mean, there are several meanings for this. It means being grounded, being established, being firm or rooted. It also means dwelling, abode, final destination, ultimate journey. Okay, so now when you combine the word UpaVasa, it actually means to be established in your own true self, to be established and grounded in your own true reality, to be close to or to be in the vicinity of your true identity. Okay, so which means UpaVasa will include all the disciplines associated with fasting or conscious restriction or withdrawal. And this comes at three levels. It comes at the level of physical body. We call it as Kaya UpaVasa. And this is in the form of restricted eating or to be consciously fasting. Okay, but it doesn't end there. UpaVasa also includes Vachika UpaVasa. Vachika UpaVasa here would mean it relate to our senses. It means the way we speak and our communication. It means drawing healthy impressions from outside and then taking suitable actions. So fasting here will actually mean your ability to consciously distinguish between what is disharmonious and what is harmonious, and then how to react and how to act. And then the third level of fasting is Manasa Upavasa. This is at the level of mind. So this is actually an extension of Vachika Upavasa, and it refers to all the thoughts and dramas that go about in your mind 24/7 and how you deal with them. So fasting here will refer to consciously being aware of all the dramas in your mind, consciously being aware of all the negativity in your mind, consciously being aware of all the kind of judgmental thoughts that come up in your mind. So fasting here would be introspecting and consciously letting go or overcoming all the undesirable thoughts. Okay, so now we are going to apply these concepts to coincide with the Ekadashi time. Okay, so now the question is, what is the importance of Ekadashi? Why Ekadashi? All right, so here, let me go back to a little bit of our Vedic text. Now, the importance of fasting and its impact on the body's metabolism and the physiology actually led to the establishment of a new branch of nutritional science called chrononutrition. So chrononutrition tries to understand how food and diet affects your physiology, affects your metabolism in terms of the time of the day. Okay, which means chrononutrition actually tells you what to eat at what point of time in order to achieve optimal health. And chrononutrition talks about the importance of timings and eating for brain development, for memory, for muscle growth, for sports performance, for weight issues, and to delay the aging process. The company where I work at, Apollo Health, where we see a lot of people with memory loss, we put a lot of importance on chrononutrition. Now the question is, how does chrononutrition fit in with if people can mute themselves, that'd be great. So the question is, how does chrononutrition fit in with the concept of Ekadashi fasting? Now, our ancestors, our forefathers, they did not talk about chrononutrition, but they emphasize restricted eating based on environmental cues in order for a person to lead an optimal life. Okay, the environmental cues were mainly drawn from the sun, the sunlight, and the sunset. And this is where the concept of lunar fasting or Ekadashi got established. Now think about it. The moon is a satellite of the Earth and it orbits around the Earth. The Earth itself rotates and revolves around the sun, right? So what happens is at any given time, that it changes, there's a change in the amount of sunlight that reflects off the moon as we see from the Earth. Okay, so what happens is the moon's disk, it changes from all dark, which we call as Amavasya, to all light, full moon, Purnima. Okay, and in the lunar calendar, this phenomenon happens twice in a month, and we know that as Ekadashi. Okay, the start date. So you have Ekadashi, which is 4 days prior to the new moon, also known as Amavasya, and 4 days prior to Purnima, also known as full moon. So you have Ekadashi, and then you have the 12th day, Dvadashi, 13th day, Trayadashi, 14th day, Chaturdashi, and then either it's Amavasya, new moon, or no moon, and Purnima, full moon. All right. And twice in a month, this Ekadashi period is marked by the astrologers who call it the moon, sun, earth trine. It's the positioning of the three planetary objects, okay, which results in the amount of sunlight that gets reflected off the moon as we see from the Earth, resulting in either no moon, which is Amavasya, or a full moon, which is Purnima. Now, what does this have to do with fasting? Now, what happens is on both these days, on the Ekadashi days, the gravitational effects of the moon is extremely strong on the Earth. Okay, how do we know this? One of the best ways to know this is if you're near a coast, if you're near the beach, just go to the coast and notice what happens during the Ekadashi time. You will notice that the tides or the waves of the ocean are much stronger compared to other days. Okay, you can check it out. Now imagine our own bodies. We are nothing but 75 to 80% of us in our body is the fluidic aspect of the body, all the fluids. So which means whatever effect you're seeing on the earth, on the oceans, the same effect of the moon happens on us as well. Okay, and this shows up in our digestive system and in our mind. We are not aware of it. The reason being that we are so we are so engrossed in the day-to-day life that we don't even think about it unless we consciously listen to the mental and physical cues that comes from our body. But in general, what happens is, irrespective of who we are on this day, okay, and then the next 4 days, the digestion is sluggish, and even the mind is working at a sluggish rate. And our forefathers knew about this. They knew about the body-mind nexus. They knew about the gut-brain nexus. And so what they said is, on these days, on Ekadashi day, the gut is impacted, that is, your digestion is impacted, even the brain or the mind is impacted, so you have sluggish thoughts, you have all kinds of judgmental thoughts. Okay, and so in order for us to be not only aware, but even to improve or to overcome this sluggishness, our forefathers resorted to fasting, and we call it as Ekadashi fasting. Okay, and this is mentioned in the Ayurvedic texts. Charaka Samhita talks about that. The Vedic Upanishads talk about it. The Bhagavad Gita talks about it. Okay, so we have proof in all these books. And general recommendation is to have 1 meal a day, or 2 meals a day, or 3 meals a day. Okay, restricted meals. Why? Because fasting on this day helps to maintain a natural flow of all the fluids in the body. It maintains a good digestive system. It also calms the mind. It also helps you to achieve positivity. Okay, so by creating a fasting paradigm on a specific Ekadashi time, our ancestors, our forefathers created a system by which we could go easy on the food intake, and we could go easy on the thoughts that come up in our mind, thereby providing some sort of a rest or a respite to the mind and to the gut. It doesn't stop functioning, but it functions with more efficiency. It takes a rest. So what does this do physiologically? Physiologically, what happens is every 2 weeks, okay, because Ekadashi comes twice in a month. So by every the time when it happens, when you fast, either a complete fast on Ekadashi day or you restrict the food intake, okay, physiologically what's happening is it's very similar to all the fasting paradigm that you see out there. Okay, and the benefits are immense. I can talk about that. In fact, I spoke about that in a couple of months back on the fasting and its importance. Okay, we have shown it in our studies. We have published a lot of manuscripts on this one. We have imparted this on our patients at Apollo Health. Okay, digestion of fats happens beautifully. Creation of beneficial fat products. Okay, this is also a time when a lot of the trash that is accumulated in the brain gets removed. We have an efficient recycling system in the body and the brain, and that happens very efficiently when you fast. Okay, now our forefathers didn't just stop at restricted eating. They didn't say just do restricted eating. They combined it. And what did they combine it with? At the level of mind and emotions, they combined it with the concepts of pranayama, breath practice, dhyana and dharana, mindfulness, and mantra japa, meditation. Because what's happening is, as I said, there is sluggish thoughts as well. So by ensuring that you are not only restrictively eating, but you're also doing all these practices at the mind level as well, you are ensuring a complete physical, mental, and emotional immunity or emotional growth. So this Ekadashi fast actually served a very important purpose. It motivated people not only to fast to keep their digestion proper, but it also helped in keeping them cognitively active. So that the entire physiology, body-mind nexus was in an optimal state. and by giving a place for you to practice mindfulness or mantra japa or breath practices, okay, you are adding on to that physical immunity, you're adding on mental immunity and emotional immunity as well. All right. So there was overall development. And by doing this twice in a month for the next 12 months, okay, you are ensuring that you're always maintaining your health and wellness. Okay. Immunity at all three levels. A very, very powerful thing. Okay. So now with that background, the question is, how do we practically apply this? We'll apply it at all three levels. So at the level of Kaya Upavasa, at the level of physical body, okay, remember the Ekadashi period comes twice in a month. It comes 4 days prior to Amavasya. It just ended actually last week. And then it'll come 4 days prior to Purnima, which is going to happen a week later. Okay, so twice in a month for a 4-day period, even though we didn't start in the first stage of Ekadashi, we'll start now, the one that is about to come up in the month of October towards the end. Okay, we'll follow this restrictive fasting period at all three levels. Okay, at the physical body, we will do a restrictive fasting. Okay, so how do we do this? I'm giving you 3 options. The first option, now each person is on their own. Okay, you don't compare with another person. What works for one will not work for everybody. Okay, so, and some of you have already practiced this, some of you already know what works for you. So based on that, I'm giving you multiple options. Okay, you work on that option that is good for you, that is suitable for you. Okay, you don't want to end up having any issues, health issues, because this is not about creating any health issue. We are trying to, in fact, uplift our lives. All right, so I'm giving you 3 options of restrictive eating. The first option is restricted to just 1 meal a day. Okay, and my suggestion would be to have the meal around noon time. Why is that? Because we know from our Vedic text as well as from modern chrononutrition that when the sun is at its peak, the digestion is maximum. That's when the stomach sends signals to the brain saying that I feel hungry. And that's when the brain then cues the stomach to start releasing the digestive enzymes, both in the mouth as well as in the stomach and intestine. Okay, so that's the time when you are supposed to have your meal. So my suggestion is, if you are going to do a 1 meal a day, please try to have your big meal around that time. Okay, now see, if you're going to have only 1 meal, okay, my suggestion is you can, if you wish to, have some kind of a beverage in the morning or in the evening. Okay, but please avoid eating or drinking very late in the night. Okay, so my suggestion is, once you finish if you're going to have a 1 meal option, then just eat 1 meal midday, okay, and then try to fast the entire the other parts of the day. Don't try to eat anything else. Okay, now the second is the second option is where you're going to have only 2 meals a day. My suggestion would be, have your first meal to coincide with the sun at its peak, somewhere between 11:30 and 1:30 p.m. Okay, and then try to have your second meal between 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. If you're going to have 2 meals, please avoid snacking or nibbling. Okay, now remember, if you're going to have 2 meals and if you're going to keep these timings that I mentioned here in this cartoon, you are giving an average of 6 hours of gap between the 2 meals. And not only that, if you follow this schedule, then you're giving yourself a 16 hours overnight fast. And my friends, if you're doing this, this is the best paradigm. It has worked for us, our participants, people with memory loss. They do very well with this 12 to 16 hours of overnight fast. It's really a very powerful way of creating a beautiful system by which the brain works efficiently. You don't need to do any other kinds of fasting if you do this. Forget about all the juices and the fat and the fasting paradigm that people in the Bay Area maintain. Okay, you don't have to worry about all those. Maintain this. If you can do this, this is really nice. Now, a 12 to 16 hour fast will create a condition, what we call as ketosis. I don't want to go into a lot of details, mechanistic details, because I've already spoken about this. but this ketosis time, okay, it creates a condition called ketosis, which is very helpful for the liver, the stomach, and the brain as well. Okay, so you can either have one meal or you can have two meals. Okay, now for those of us who are not interested in one or two meals, you can try to have 3 meals a day. Okay, now when I mean a meal, please don't think about a buffet lunch or a buffet dinner. When I talk about a meal, imagine any eating event is a meal. Okay, so it could be, so try to keep it light because you're fasting. Okay, so try not to go on those days, on Ekadashi days, to the restaurant and eat a buffet lunch because you're defeating the purpose. Okay, so 3 meals would be, again, in the third option where you're going to have 3 meals, I'm giving you two options. The first option is you have a breakfast around 8 or 8:30 in the morning, and then you have a midday meal at 12 or 12:30, and then you have a supper at 7 p.m. Okay, and notice what's happening in these cases. We are giving a 3-hour gap between two eating events. And my friends, whatever paradigm you observe, make sure that between two eating events, there's at least a 3-hour gap, because that's the time of gap. That's the amount of time that requires for the entire food that you've eaten to enter the lower intestine. Okay, if you constantly snack or constantly nibble, what happens is each time you take something into your mouth, you are going to have insulin spikes. The more insulin spikes, what happens is over time, or over as you keep aging, what happens is too many frequent insulin spikes can create what we call insulin resistance. Okay, you don't want to have too many insulin spikes. And the way you can avoid that is to make sure that you are leaving a 3 to 4 hour gap between two eating events. The second eating event is where you forget about breakfast, have a mid-morning meal around 10 a.m. In fact, just so that you know, I'm walking the talk, by the way. Just before coming for this talk, Padma and I, we actually finished our lunch. You call it lunch or breakfast or whatever it is. We finished our morning lunch. So mid-morning meal is at 10 a.m. And if you feel like snacking around 2 or 3, you can snack. You're giving the 3-hour gap window there. And then you have your supper by 7. Even if it's a third option, please no snacking or nibbling. Both these options, whether you have a breakfast, lunch, and supper, or you have a mid-morning meal, snack, and a supper, you're ensuring a minimum 3-hour gap between these eating events. Okay, and notice another thing that we are doing here. You are finishing your meal, the last meal, by 6:30 or 7 p.m., which means by the time you go to bed, you're giving a 3-hour window. And that, my friends, is extremely important. You have to give a 3-hour window between your dinner time and sleep time. And I'm giving a talk this Wednesday on sleep, and I'll tell you about what exactly happens when you give the 3-hour gap. There's a lot of physiological events that support a good quality and good quantity sleep when you give a 3-hour window between your last meal and the sleep time. Okay, which means no more eating after dinner. So I know in this country we tend to have a late glass of milk or a beverage, or even around this time, because winter time we like to have it's like a cold day, we like to have a hot chocolate or something to keep ourselves active. But no, that's happening very close to your sleep time, and you don't want to do that. So whatever option you choose, make sure that you finish your meal by 6:30 or 7 in the evening, so you can sleep by 10, which means you're giving a 3-hour gap. Okay, in both these options that I'm showing here, you are reducing the eating events to either 3 meals, okay, and then your one meal is just light meal, either breakfast or a snack is a light meal, okay, and you're avoiding frequent snacking. And both options will provide you 12 to 14 hours of overnight fast. Now, somebody will come and say, can I mix and match? Absolutely. See, I'm giving you all these options. You work it out what works for you. Maybe on Ekadashi day, maybe you want to do a one meal. And then the 3 days after Ekadashi, 12th, 13th, and 14th day, maybe you want to do 3 meals. And then on Amavasya or Purnima, you can do 2 meals or 1 meal. So you can mix and match and see for yourself how it works for you. Okay? Because if you're asking about my opinion, because I know a lot of people will come back to me and say, what do you want to do? I most probably I'll go for that. I'll either go for a 1 meal on Ekadashi day and then do 2 meals the next few days till Amavasya Purnima, or I may even think of doing 3 meals on those 3 days and then end with either 2 meals or 1 meal on Amavasya Purnima day. Okay, because I know that works for me very well. So what works for you, try it out. All right. Now, for these 5 days, I would request everybody to stay away from meat. Okay, and try to have a fresh, possibly freshly prepared meals loaded with vegetables, because you don't want to get into a constipation. You want to have a good bowel movement. Try to avoid more poultry, seafood, or meat during these 4 days, 4 to 5 days. It's okay to consume milk and milk products. Try not to chili spice your meals, please. Don't have chili peppers. Okay. Don't have, some people may say, what about garlic? Yeah, try not to have garlic. Try not to don't make it too pungent. All right. So you can definitely spice your meals, and I'll tell you later what kind of spices you can use. Chewing. I spoke about chewing some time back, right? Please make sure that you are consciously aware of what you're eating and try to chew your food to a count of 25 to 30 before you swallow it. If you're doing a juice fast or if you're eating soups as a meal, then of course there's no question of chewing. But if you're eating something which requires you to chew, please chew the food thoroughly. There is a close nexus between the mouth, the oral cavity, and the brain. Helps in cognition. There's a close association between the mouth and the heart, the blood flow. Okay. And these are all supported by evidence-based studies. Try to minimize the amount of distraction and conversation while you're eating your food. Okay. Now, what about fruits? Please remember, fruits in itself is a meal. Okay. So if you want to add fruits, try to put that as one part of your one of your meals. So you can take a big bowl of mixed fruits and have that as one meal. All right. Try not to combine, some kind of a food along with your fruits, because fruit in itself is because the amount of sugar that is present in fruits is good enough to constitute as one meal itself. Okay. And for those of you in this crowd, in this audience that are very, very familiar with the Khichdi mono fast, I know some of you have done that with me. You are welcome to do the Khichdi mono fast as well. Okay. Now, I'm highlighting this. If you are taking any kind of medications, any kind of pills, any kind of supplements, please don't stop those medications. Try to take them at that given time that you are supposed to be taking. Okay, don't stop on that. All right. Now, other things that goes along with your diet. Okay, irrespective of how many meals you eat, please make sure that you sleep by 10 p.m. Extremely important. It's part of the Ekadashi fasting. Okay, try to wake up with the sunrise, or try to wake up before the sunrise. And my suggestion is, remember, we are not doing this only for physical body. We are not doing this as a religious fasting. We are doing this for immunity at physical, mental, and emotional level. Okay, so my suggestion is, when you wake up in the morning, try to inculcate at least 10 minutes, if not more, of your time for physical exercise. Just some gentle stretches. If you can go to the gym, welcome. If you have a gym at home, please do that. Some kind of physical activity. If you want to yoga like me, please do some yoga stretches. Okay. And then follow it up with 5 minutes. Even if it's not 5 minutes, at least 2 minutes of breath practice. If you do not know any specific pranayama technique, don't worry. You don't have to do a specific pranayama technique. Just consciously inhale. And when you are inhaling, make sure that you are extending your tummy out so that you are creating a space for all the air to come in. And then exhale, and then hold it for some time, and then you exhale out. Very simple inhalation, exhalation. You don't have to worry about pranayama practices, but consciously be aware of your inhalation and exhalations. Okay, breathe in some fresh air, breathe out the air that is inside. Okay, do that for 2 minutes if you can't do it for 5 minutes. Now, if you have any addictions, coffee, tea, alcohol, tobacco, smoke, or any recreational drugs, try to see if you can avoid it, minimize it if you can, or try to avoid it during this 5-day period. If you're into beverages like coffee or tea or something, okay, try to minimize it. If you cannot eliminate completely, try to minimize it. All right. Now, remember, now this is about diet. What about at the level of fasting, at the level of mind and the level of emotions? For the next, for those 4 to 5 day period, please lead a moral and ethical life. Use your words carefully, use your phrases carefully, try to avoid foul languages, try to avoid cuss words. Please don't try to, bring about emotions like fear, worry, anxiety, anger, rage, depression, judgment, critical, rage, or try to bring all that down. You don't want to bring it up. Okay, whether it's on the spouse or children, or if you're the manager on your team members, or if you're one of the team members on your manager, try to avoid all that. Try to minimize negativity in your speech. See if you can avoid the word no in your speech those 5 days. No, no. And then at the same time, please be aware of all the thoughts that are coming up in your mind, all the negativity. Just as I said earlier, fear, worry, anxiety, anger, judgment, rage, critical, all these. Try to overlay that with positive thoughts, because fasting here is being aware of all the dramas in our mind, all the negativity in the mind, all the judgments. Okay, so introspection. That's why our forefathers told us to meditate in the morning. Okay, if I tell you that, you may say, I don't have so much of time to do meditation and pranayama and physical exercise. Okay, so at least try to be aware of what kind of thoughts you're bringing in your mind. So introspect, consciously let go of any negative thoughts. Okay, and very important, very, very important, especially now that we are living in a digital age, try to minimize your role in your digital age period, in the sense that it comes to all the social media things, Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and Instagrams and WhatsApp and all that. These are all noise. Believe me, these are all noise. Okay, and try to restrict the amount of usage on these digital devices, because we get pulled in all directions, my friends. They have a strong influence on our lives, and you don't want to surround yourself with this noise. So digital fasting. All right, so try to minimize the amount of time that you use on these digital age. I can understand. I mean, some of you who are especially managers in this team or CEOs in this audience, or high level professionals in this audience will immediately, you're going to tell me, what can I do? I need the phone 24/7 to keep a track. Yeah, I don't want to teach. You're not children. You're all adults like me. I don't have to teach. You know what I mean by restriction. Okay, when you can switch off the phone completely, or when you can put it in a silent mode, or that when I'm telling about digital social media, you don't have to work diligently on all those things. You can try to minimize the usage, try to keep your mind calm, and then finally, if you can, try to engage, at least if not all the 4-5 days, at least one day, try to engage in some selfless activity, seva, karma yoga. Bhagavan talks about that in Bhagavad Gita. In the Upanishads, they all talk about seva or selfless service. It's a beautiful practice. It's nothing but fasting. It is a UpaVasa. Selfless service is one of the greatest UpaVasas at the level of mind. Okay, it allows you to calm your mind. It allows you to cultivate positivity in the mind. Okay, so now practically, I'm sure somebody will ask, what do I eat? I'm confused now. What do I eat? Okay, so remember, if you're eating if you're eating fruits, if you want to use fruits as a meal, mixed fruits is one meal. You can mix match any fruits that you want. That itself is a meal. So for those of you who are doing one meal a day, who want to do one meal a day on Ekadashi day, feel free to have a fruit ball. Millets. This is the best time to come bring in millets. Such a beautiful grain. Our forefathers were all using it. You may not know, your grandfather, your great grandfather, and their families, we were all using millets, by the way, throughout the country, not just Rajasthan or Gujarat. Everywhere millets were being used. All kinds of millets. Okay, so this is the best time to bring in your millets. Rajagira. Gujaratis in this audience will know. Non-Gujaratis, it's called amaranth. Extremely good. Quinoa, extremely good. Okay, you can either make a khichdi, you can make a upma, you can make roti, you can make dosa, you can make idli, whatever, in any form, any shape, any size, any color, whatever. Try to bring in these foods. Okay, I know Maharashtrians like to eat sabudana sago. Please feel free to eat that as one of the meals. Okay, for those of you who are interested in soups, please, you're welcome to use soup as a meal. Okay, one bowl of soup is good enough. Make sure that you have lots of veggies in your soup. This is the time when you can start bringing in pumpkin, bottle gourd, cucumbers, sweet potatoes, not potatoes, sweet potatoes, greens. Make sure that you have a lot of greens. You want to have a good bowel movement. Okay, so you can saute it slightly, you can puree it, add water, and you get a beautiful, and then warm it up, and you can get a beautiful bowl of soup. And my friends, just having a big bowl of soup is a meal itself. Your stomach is happy with that. It will send the signals to the brain saying that I feel full. Okay. Some of you may want to eat green salad. Most welcome. That in itself is a meal. Okay. If you're having two meals and have green salad and have, another meal in the evening, whatever. You can combine green salad with your soup if you want to, or you can combine green salad with khichdi. That in itself is a small meal. Okay, so I'm giving you so many options. The reason I'm not giving you one specific saying do this is because that a lot of you may be resistant to that. Okay, some of you may not like it. So that's why I'm giving you these options. Do your best. All right. Milk and dairy products, most welcome. Not a problem at all. Spices, as I listed here: cumin, coriander, mustard, fresh ginger, not dry ginger, fresh ginger, turmeric. Try avoiding dry turmeric. Use fresh turmeric if possible. Black pepper, ajwain. Why ajwain? Because whenever you restrict your food intake, because we're not used to it, because we are used to eating huge number of meals at odd times, okay, our digestion is all over the place. Ajwain will make sure that your digestion comes back to normalcy when you're doing these fasting paradigms. All right. So the key takeaways now, and I'll take a Q&As after this. Upavasa, meaning establishing yourself to knowing your true nature, to be grounded in your own true reality, to be close to your identity. Okay. And Upavasa will include disciplines associated at all three levels of individuality. So you're fasting at all three levels. And this fasting period comes about twice in a month during the Ekadashi time. Okay. So Ekadashi followed by 3 days, 12th, 13th, 14th, Dvadasi, Trayodasi, Chaturdashi, followed by either the full moon, Purnima, which is going to come now, or no moon or dark moon, Amavasya. Okay, this is nothing but the effects of the moon, the gravitational effects of the moon on the earth, which shows up not only on the earth's elements, it will also show up on our own body. Okay, so that's the reason why we resort to Ekadashi fasting. So this helps to maintain a natural flow of fluids in our body. It tries to promote a good health and a calm mind. It will help us to distinguish between what is harmonious and what is not harmonious. And it will help us to overcome or let go of any undesirable thoughts, actions, or dramas. All right. And this can be achieved by either one meal a day, or two meals, or three meals, or you can mix and match. Try to avoid any kind of snacking or nibbling, and minimize any kind of addictions that you have. Addictions could be at the level of body and mind. Okay. Maintain a 3-hour gap between two eating events. Okay. So which means now that you have some kind of idea about where I'm going with all this, we'll be ready to follow this period, this fasting period, starting October 24th. October 24th is Ekadashi. Okay. And then 25th, 26th, 27th is the second, third, and fourth day, second, third, and fourth day. And then Sunday, October 28th, is going to be the full moon, Purnima. So you're giving yourself a 5-day fasting period. Okay. We will do this. Okay. Don't worry about who is doing how and all that. Do the way you want to do it. Follow what I've told you, either one meal or two meal or three meal. And by the way, I'm not just going to leave you at this stage. Okay. There's going to be some kind of a feedback mechanism here. 2 weeks after we finish this October month of Ekadashi, okay, and before the onset of November Ekadashi, because remember, November, we're going to be doing 2 Ekadashis, okay? So before we start the first Ekadashi fasting, November, we will have another meeting, and then I'll want your feedback. I want to know how you all did, because what happens is, based on your feedback, we can tweak it a little bit. I can add some more things, or I can delete some more things. Okay. So I'll need and then you can tell me about how you felt, the way what kind of a physiological cues did your body send you out? Were you aware of it? Or what kind of cues did your mind send you? And were you aware of it? And then what did you do to follow those cues? I would be interested to know all that, because based on your feedback, I can also tweak my physiology as well. Okay. And then try to encourage positive thoughts, be very calm, and try to minimize any mental addictions that you have. All right. So with this, let me stop the share and I will take your questions.